What's going on? Real Estate Virgins podcast here. Welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, you're probably here because you want to amplify your real estate business in 2023 and beyond. You're a new agent. You're looking for new ideas and stories of success, failure, ideas, and you are in the right place. If you're a returning listener, thank you so much. Jordan Brown here. I'm here with John Michael Perez.
Hello.
What's going on, buddy?
Doing good, man. Everything's great.
Absolutely. Last podcast was really great. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, we interviewed Amir Lancaster. Amir is a pro rugby player. He's a realtor here in the Austin area, and you may know him from the Bravo series, Summer House, Martha's Vineyard. So our first kind of celebrity interview, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I loved his energy. It was really, you could tell he wants it. You know, he has a big desire to succeed and see others succeed as well.
Absolutely. And I love how open he was. That was another thing, is a lot of times when you're successful, some of the initial thoughts is like, I got to keep this secret formula to myself. And I've got to, if I share this, then everyone else is going to succeed. And he wasn't like that. And we try to not be like that either, where it's the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah. So who is our guest today?
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have multi-time entrepreneur of the month over at TRE, our brokerage. We got Anthony Sanchez.
What's going on? What's going on? Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, welcome, man.
Excited.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to kind of dive in. We were talking about a few topics before we even hopped in here that I'm excited to have you share as well. So our podcast, if you're unfamiliar, this is a lot of agents who are looking for new ideas, or they're just kind of looking for the recipe for success, which we know looks different for everybody. But everyone brings their own piece here, where things that work for John may not work for me, may work for you, and that's kind of the basis of this. But before we dive into all the real estate stuff, who is Anthony Sanchez as a person? Where are you from? What do you do? What are you doing here?
Yeah. So Again, Anthony Sanchez, born here in Round Rock, Texas. So, true native.
There we go.
Been here my whole life, never really left. Love calling Austin home. Obviously, I'm a realtor, entrepreneur, dreamer, big dreamer. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Real quick, interrupt.
John does. If everyone who's listening to this is like, oh, there goes John again. It's like a recurring theme here.
Yeah, I'm an interrupt king. I feel like out of nowhere, I started seeing your videos and they started popping off. And if I'm not mistaken, you have a couple that are like over 1 million views, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And they're doing really good. And it's really cool to see the interactions. Like if you go in the comments, there's tons of people, oh my God, this house is beautiful. And you do things differently. And I love that. Also, shout out to your Instagram account. What is it?
It's your ATX Realtor.
Okay.
Yes,
your
ATX
Realtor.
Your ATX Realtor. And yeah, so pretty much when I joined real estate, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I was like everyone else, didn't know what to do. So I saw some guy posting some videos out in like LA, and they were really cool videos. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that. And so I went out and started doing them. And then I was like, what kind of content do I want to put out? Do I want to put, mid homes in the 200,000s that are affordable for a lot of people? Or do I want to jump into the luxury? And so I really started doing the mid homes, getting clients that way. And then I was like, you know what? Let me jump into the luxury. What's going to stop me? And so I just went in and did it. And I think like a few months in, one of my videos actually ended up hitting 6 million views.
Jeez.
Yeah. 6 million views. It was a random video that I was like, I'm just going to put this together. All my other videos were like real to the point, to the T. It was like, they got to be perfect. This one I was like, I'm going to piece this together with a template. I did it. Went up there, and it was pretty cool.
What kind of content was that? Like, what specific, was it a walkthrough? Was it you explaining something about the home buying process? What was that video?
So this was just a basic home. Like, I literally just took random shots of like the kitchen, the backyard, the living room, the stairs. There was really cool like stairs that like had windows and views of downtown. So I took a little snippet of that, and pretty much that's put it together with a cool sound, and there we go.
Nice. So a couple questions. One would be, do you use any equipment? What type of equipment do you use when filming these shots?
My secret piece is my iPhone.
Okay.
All that is shot on your iPhone?
All that is shot on my iPhone. I don't pay any money for any special gadgets or anything. I have a gimbal, which when I first started off, I had a $40 gimbal from Amazon. and that gimbal worked wonders. And then I upgraded to the DJI, which is much smoother. And yeah, I still, to this day, I still use my iPhone for all my shots.
And then also, do you talk over them, or do you just shoot them?
So I'm mixing things up now. Originally, it was just homes, just walkthroughs, random shots of some homes. I actually now have started to kind of show myself a little more. I'm definitely that person that doesn't like to be on camera. It's my first podcast as well. And so like,
woo, congrats. Welcome.
Round of applause.
Round of applause. Yeah.
Even like hearing my own voice on the camera, I'm kind of just like, but then I think about it, I'm like, dude, nobody cares.
You got to do this,
Nobody
man.
cares. Just get out and do it. And so starting to put myself out there a little more. I definitely have had my pauses where I'm like, what can I do different? Because I feel like now everyone's doing the same little home tour. And they're doing their audios, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not doing audios. I'm kind of slacking in that department.
Gotcha.
So just trying to see what I can do better and be different from everybody else.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of agents, as of within the last year, are just a lot of agents are doing walkthrough videos now. And so now it's like, how do we stand out? And one thing that I have been doing is adding like a PNG image on top of the video,
Like a watermark?
like a watermark. And so like now it's like put my phone number at the bottom,
Yeah.
you know, but at the same time I'm always asking myself, how can I add more value? And one tip that we're about to start doing is offering some type of guide on those videos. So like, hey, if you go to our link tree, we've got a free guide for Leander, or we've got a free guide for Cedar Park.
Did you know Instagram actually has a guides tab?
Really?
Yeah. So there's a
Didn't know
guides
that.
tab. So pretty much all your content that you've posted in the past, you can compile it into a guide. And so that guide is, there's like a whole, you know, there's the columns for it. There's the photos, reels, and stuff you've been tagged in. So once you activate it, it's like, hey, this is a guide for you. And
That's
it's like you do your
interesting.
What does that
first
guide look
time-
like?
I haven't done it yet. I've been mixing around with it. But you can do like a first time home buyer guide. And so you just post first time home buyer, you know, content,
Videos that are related
videos
to
and stuff
that.
that are related. And so once you have everything together, you make a guide for it. I've seen people that do, you know, guides to the best tacos in Austin. And so like you go through their guide and it's just like all their best recommendations. So jumping into that, it's just Instagram's changing things all the time. There's stuff that, I mean, I still see and I'm like, oh, that's new. Like, did you know you could put GIFs under pictures and videos?
Yeah, I did
just
start
found
seeing
that out. You literally cat messaged me a few days ago and she was like, can you do this? And I was like, no.
That's cool. I love one thing that you do in your videos is you change things up and you have like a, and I don't know if this was just for like a specific home, but like you're kind of playful with it. You know, it's not as serious. Like you were opening the door, like to, well, like the video is you welcoming them in. You're in the back, like lounging on the chair or the couch or whatever. Like it was really cool. And I think it was a nice change of pace from like the real serious tone that a lot of videos can
Yeah, for
have.
sure.
So that's one thing I really love. Amir was talking about like having your brand, and part of your brand is what you do within these videos. Like you said, everyone's doing videos, but what are you doing to stand out from everyone else?
Well, I also think that like being your true personality, your true authentic self is so important with these videos, because if you're putting out an image that is not your image, you're going to attract those type of people. And then once you meet in real life, it's not.
Who are you and why am I talking to you?
I know.
The energy is not the
it's
same.
not the
Yeah.
It's not the same energy. And so when you put out that personality on your videos, who you really are, when people meet you in real life, they already know you.
Yeah. And big thanks to like Chelsea and Cindy. There's some friends that I met that are also realtors here in Austin. They're like, dude, put yourself in the camera. Sit on this chair. And I'm like, I don't want to sit on the chair. I'm like, sit on the chair and we're going to take a shot of you. And those videos have been doing really good lately. And it's, again, building your brand, putting yourself out there a little more, which trying to get used to it a little more as well. But also, you know, when I used to go out and film these homes, I used to go by myself because, I mean, there was nobody that wanted to spend 4 hours just going to go look at some houses with me that weren't clients. And so now I'm like, oh, you know, I can put it on a stand and do it this way. And, you know, I've met Amir in person. He is a awesome person. Like, he literally, I asked him a question about how he edits certain things, and he was just like an open book. He's like, yeah, do it this way, do it that way. Like, I've met some agents that are like, figure it out. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Don't ask me for the secret sauce. He gave me the sauce.
Nice.
yeah.
I love that you have to almost reflect on yourself and go, who am I as this realtor? Am I someone who's comfortable doing X, Y, and Z? And when you put yourself out there, you'll learn a lot about yourself. You have to dive into am I a voiceover person? Am I someone who's comfortable being in front of the camera? Can I become someone who's comfortable being in front of the camera? That was me. I hated putting myself out there. I think I even said it on like the first few episodes of the podcast. I was like, this sucks. I hate hearing myself. I hate like being able to hear myself in here. I hate looking at myself on the monitor. And now it's like, I got over that. And now I think the confidence is there to where I'm like, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and you make the subject of your videos is the house. It's not you. It's not you. You're the person facilitating the viewing of the house.
Well, another thing with content as well is like, yeah, you may not find a buyer for that specific house. You're also selling your brand. You're selling who you are and what you do, and that's what's going to attract people, and they're going to see that, and they're going to say, hey, you know what? I might not buy that house. This is like $3 million, but I'll buy a $1 million house from you.
Yeah.
I'd love to know a little bit more about your background. What did you do before getting into real estate?
Yeah, so before real estate, I was working in the dental field. I helped open a couple different dental offices throughout all of Austin. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then the pandemic hit, and it was like, hey, the dental offices are closing down. Like, you got to go. And so went back after about a month of being stuck at home, and my partner was like, why don't you get into real estate? And I was like, I've never really thought about it. I've always had the idea of like going and flipping houses, and my dream is to own apartment complexes. I would love to do that. And so he was like, why don't you get in real estate, make some money, do that. And so I took the course. My partner kind of funneled everything for us for a while, and then here I am now.
Nice.
I think it's awesome that a lot of people, just like with my experience, it came from someone else saying like, hey, you should try real estate. Like they identified something in you that was like, you could do this and you'd be good at it. Mine was my aunt. My aunt and John, like John was the final straw, but my aunt from whenever I was like 15, she was like, oh my gosh, like you have a personality that I think would be fitting for this field of work. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm not really interested in that. And
I mean, like at a young age, I come from, my family worked in the construction field, and they would take me to work, and I'd go work and learn what it is to earn the dollar and whatnot. And we were always working on these big, beautiful homes, specifically out in Treviso is when that community first opened up. And I was like, I'm going to own a home like this one day. And I would walk through the plans, like when it was just concrete. I'm like, I know the room's going to be here. I know this is going to be here. I know what this is going to look like. And I just grew like a internal love for it. And so actually during like high school period, I took architecture classes. I was planning on going to UTSA out in San Antonio to do architecture. But of course things didn't fall through the way I wanted them to. So, real estate is the next best thing. Who knows? I might still want to get into architecture.
Yeah. Yeah. We were doing a video recently, and these guys were working on a house that was right next door, and it was like 100 degrees outside. And I'm like, bro, my dad, he was in construction, and he would be out there just, tying rebar and doing stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm so glad I'm not having
like,
to
how lucky are we that we don't have to do that?
How lucky are we? Like, for real. Like, it's.
And my parents showed me at a young age, like, hey, go do that. And we were out there. I was out there carrying lumber before the foundations were even poured, just to drop them off. And I'm like, man, my dad really worked for his money out here. And like, it's fucking hot. I'm like, remember like sitting there, like, I'm going to pass out. And these guys are all there just working away, hard workers.
And it's crazy because like we make money in a different way than they understand. And so like when I'm at home on my computer working, he's like, how are you making money right now?
Yeah, it's a hard concept for them to like understand, because you're not physically doing labor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have family members all the time. They're like, oh, you don't work, you just sit on the computer editing videos. And I'm like, I mean, I'm technically making
that is how I make money. Yes,
that's how I make my money. And then they're like, you wouldn't know what it's like to be out here and do. I was like, actually, I do know what it's like to be out there. I just learned that I didn't want to do that to make money. So
yeah.
And I love that you said like you were in Treviso, and it's like going through those neighborhoods. If you're a new realtor and you want to be inspired, go through a really nice neighborhood and tour a really nice home, and you're like, holy shit.
Oh, and that community was very small when we were out there. It was like they hadn't extended anything off of that main driveway, and it was just like, oh, this is gonna be a really nice area. And then I went up there with a client a few days ago, and I'm like, whoa, like this area is like a massive community now. Like I think they're going to do a school and stuff in there. And so it's just like,
They've got their own fire department.
Yeah. I'm literally like, wow. I remember when it was just like a few hundred houses and we had the plans for those houses and they were big houses for me, what I thought at the time. And I go look at them now. I'm like, oh, those were little houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just over there a couple weeks ago doing a video, and man, there's some beautiful houses in Treviso.
I have a question for you. So you said you got into I imagine like a lot of people, like myself as well, you got into real estate around pandemic time. So around 2020, 21. So you've been in real estate for how long? 2-3 years?
This month will complete 2 years.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
You already
that's
get your
I think we're
classes?
doing just about the same. I already renewed my stuff. I did that super last minute.
Hey, little tip for you. Knock out that continuing education. That stuff sneaks up on you and it does not play. And you don't want something like that interfering with your ability to cash in a check.
Yeah, I missed a class one day on accident because I forgot to put it in my calendar. And they were like, oh, the next one's not for another 2 weeks. I'm like, 2 weeks? My thing expires in 2 weeks. Like, you got to do it now.
Yep.
So how long into you becoming licensed did it take for you to close your first deal? And what did that first deal look like?
So it took me 6 months to get my first deal, and it was with a buyer, a family friend of mine, and I learned a whole bunch during that first transaction.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah. I mean, I had a mentor at the time that was helping me out, giving me the ins and outs, how to write the offer, XYZ. So definitely get yourself a mentor if you're starting out, because that saved me a lot of headaches.
It's like it's a shortcut.
Headaches, yeah.
It's the shortcut. The same thing with John. Sorry, not to interrupt, but I think that's a really important point.
Oh, yeah.
Is if you're brand new and you feel lost, no shit, you feel lost.
Pay the fee. It's okay.
You don't know
You'll
what
get
to
more.
do. And there's people out there who will coach you. There's people out there who will take you under their wing, whether it's free or not. But that is so worth it because the amount of time you're going to cut down that lost feeling is just incremental to your growth. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, for sure. So that transaction went pretty smooth. We did some negotiations. It was at like the heat of the market pretty much. And I remember we negotiated like $10,000 off the asking, got some fees thrown in as well for the seller to cover for like maintenance and whatnot. And just watching the whole process of that happen was like, oh, this is really cool. And
Then you get that check and you're like, oh gosh, I can do this.
well, actually, I thought the check wasn't going to come because there was some cameras around the house and nothing was disclosed on the thing that the owner was taking them. My buyer was like, oh, I'm going to have a security system on the house. And the owner was like, no, I'm taking them. And my buyer was like, no, you're not. I was like going back and forth and with the agent's like, yeah, well, it's my dad. And so he forgot to tell me. And I'm like, well, you forgot. I mean, you forgot. It's not my fault.
Wow.
We're anticipating this. It was a really nice security system too, like fully wired.
Wow.
So did you think that was possibly going to compromise the deal?
Yeah, my buyer was being like a head ass. He's like, I don't want it if it's not going to come. He told me later on that he was joking, but he was like, I don't want it. I'm like literally like, oh my god, I'm about to lose my first deal
Over some cameras?
Over some cameras. Like I'll literally buy you the cameras.
I know.
Yeah, but
Isn't it amazing how many things can go wrong and can derail a deal?
Oh, yeah.
I just made a post about it this morning where I'm like, you have to, like, your clients have to be good. The lender has to be good. The other agent has to be good. Their clients have to be good. The appraisal has to come in. Everyone has to get to the closing table alive and well and in good headspace. Like, there's a lot of moving parts there.
And if you're an agent on the buying or selling side, answer your phone. Like, I think I spoke to that agent maybe twice throughout the whole transaction. And other than that, it was nothing but voicemails that I was leaving or text messages that I was sending. And I'm like, answer the phone. We can hash this stuff out super quick.
Yep.
Pandemic time was the worst thing that ever happened for communication between realtors. And it's so funny because now everyone answers their phones.
Yeah.
Everyone's
not
talking
everybody.
again. Yeah, I mean, not
a
every,
lot of people that
but
don't.
I would say 90% better than what it was during the pandemic time. You still have your buttholes that don't answer, but for sure it's gotten a lot better. And another important takeaway, first deal, it can take a while.
Yeah, it took me about 6 months too.
Took me 6 months. All three of us sitting down here took 6 months, and that's a lot of time for doubt to creep in and for you to feel like things aren't working out.
I was 5 months in and I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, one, I'm not making any money. Two, like, is this going to close? Like, if it doesn't close at the 6 month mark, what am I going to do? I got bills to pay.
Yeah, it's like I still have dues that I have to pay during that time. I still have my desk fee that I have to pay. There's all these things that are stacking up. So you have to, diamonds are made from pressure. You have to go through the pressure of a possibility of not having a sale for a while. And if you can make it out on the other side, you're going to gain that confidence, that nice shiny diamond confidence. And now you're like, hey, I got that paycheck. Now I'm addicted. Yeah. I'm ready to go get another one.
Yeah. And it took me 6 months, and my first deal was him. Like I helped him buy a house, you know. But it was crazy because why did you buy at that time, if you don't mind me asking?
So it's funny because it was the absolute worst time for us to buy. We had 1 month prior just renewed our lease on our apartment.
And I convinced him to still buy. Closer.
No, seriously, John hashtag sales expert. Like, no, you had asked me to go to a coffee shop and you wanted to practice on me. And you were like, hey, I just have some stuff I want to show you. I kind of want to just practice. And I was like, okay, cool. And when we went, I was like, I'm convinced, like, this is actually, like, this could be a possibility. And it's something that I didn't know was something that I could do. I didn't know how much money was involved, didn't know the process. That's what keeps a lot of people from taking that chance, is they just don't know how much is involved, how much, you know, that's where the education comes from. If you can educate your client and your network and your database, that's whenever you're going to start converting people, because that's exactly what happened with me. And it was good enough that I was like, hell yeah, 0 down, and I'm going to get a refund for buying a house? Like, what?
At that time.
Yeah. This was 2018, you know, and it was USDA. Like, there's a lot of factors involved there. I think John gave me a little bit of a kickback as well. So nonetheless, he made it to where it was like, I'd be stupid not to take this. It's a little bit different now. You got to reassess things. We always talk about, like, your timeline having to be really crystal clear. If you're going to be in a house for a year or two and you're trying to turn a profit, that conversation looks a lot different than I'm going to be in here for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, identifying what your goals are and your timeline for the property.
So let's go back to videos. Is there any strategies that you do to get prepared to do a house? Like, do you just look it up online? Do you call the agent? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I mean, it can be a little headache in itself too, because again, agents don't answer their phone. But yes, usually the day before, I'll compile a list of homes that I think would be content worthy, and I'll reach out to the agents. Like, hey, you know, I have a potential buyer that I want to showcase this home to, and also get some content for some social media. And they're usually 90% of the chance they're like, yeah, this is free marketing. Like, why not? Every now and then you'll have that one agent that's like, no, that's not allowed.
I had an agent yesterday that was like, my clients are very private, so we do not want you to do video.
Yeah. So I've had that happen before.
Fine,
too.
sit on the market.
That's true, and it's been sitting on the market.
I've had agents tell me, like, yeah, you can record, but I'm going to need, like, a final copy before you even post anything. And I'm like, you know, I'll go do it because I know my content's fire. Like, I know it's going to look really nice, and they're going to say yes. I've only had one situation where someone was like, yeah, you know, I don't like your music choice. And I'm like, dude, this is like a Katy Perry song. Like, so I had to go with something instrumental. But other than that, once I can get a few confirmations of homes that I can get into, make sure they're on super boxes, or get the codes if I need to, because the last thing I want to do is go and waste my time to find out there's not a super or a code, and they were thinking that I was going to schedule an appointment with them. And then I map it out on my map to figure out what's going to work best, and I go that route and I film.
Nice.
Yeah, if you're listening, go to Anthony's page or his Instagram at your ATX Realtor, and look at the quality of his content, and to kind of transition into that. And this is not a question to, like, set you up or anything. It's important for people to know that there's options. Like, for example, I edit all my own videos, and I think it shows that way. You know, John has someone who puts together his Instagram clips. It's funny because we did some analytics comparisons, and I'm like, it's worth paying a team sometimes to make that, you know, creative difference that makes people engage longer. Do you edit your own stuff, or do you have a team that does that for you?
Yeah, I actually was just talking to John about that before we came in here. I do edit a lot of my own content. At one point, I was paying for someone to edit my content for me. And honestly, I think my editing skills are pretty good, not to sound cocky or anything, but if you go through my thing, I don't think you can tell who edited what. They all look like they're all the same person. So that could be hard for a lot of other people, of course. But yes, for the most part, I do edit a lot of my own content. And when I do get content that's edited, again, you won't really tell the difference.
Have you always had that creative, like, capacity or that creative gene in you, or is that something you developed over time?
No, I definitely, when I got into real estate, I reached out to a friend that she did marketing in Austin, and she was like, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. And so she
Was that Chelsea?
No, this is actually Raquel with her media group. She's
Okay.
awesome. She does real estate videography and marketing here in Austin. And so she was like, I'm from Miami. I just moved here. I don't know anybody. You just started real estate. You don't know how to edit videos. Let me show you the way.
That's awesome.
And so she taught me a lot of different skills. And then at one point, I think I started teaching her some skills. And so we kind of just, scratched each other's back at that point. And yeah, so like I said, still edit my content. I like to do some funny blips sometimes. Like I'll do like, those memes that like end in a loud sound, and then that loud sound transfers into like a video. So started just messing around with a bunch of different things to see what worked. And so now I'm trying to get into putting myself in front of the camera.
Nice. There's one tip that I'd like to give the listeners, and that's if you go into your MLS and you can set up an auto search for the houses that you want to do videos for, right? And then just put your email in that. And so every day I get an email that says properties for John's videos, and I'll look at that. And also I set it up as vacant, so now I don't have to worry about owners that live there or set up a scheduling. So now every morning I get an email that says, hey, these properties are available to go look at, and they're vacant. And so I'll just set it up. And most of those properties are $1 million plus, or I think it was 900,000 plus, and then built in 2020 plus. So now those are the type of houses I want to do videos for.
That is super smart. I've never thought of doing it like that. I literally would sit there on my computer and I'm like, what houses do I want to film today?
Yeah,
what
I'll show
route
you.
do I want to stay in? Yeah, no, you setting up like a drip campaign for yourself.
Yep.
That's
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's like
That's
saved me a
big
lot of
brain.
time. Yeah.
It's a big brain. I've got a question for you as John is pulling that up.
Homes for videos. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So last one was yesterday.
That's dope. I was just gonna ask, like, what's your perspective on what we're seeing in the market? Like, how are your clients responding to what's out there, both on buy and sell side?
Yeah, so I mean, the interest rates are definitely pushing a lot of buyers, my buyers that I have specifically out. Like, we want to wait a few months, wait till some stuff falls. I also, on the other end, have some other clients that are like, let's go full throttle. I just recently learned of a program that's I-10 program. It's an individual tax identification number program, and that's for someone that doesn't necessarily have a social security number. And so these people are like, we've never really had the chance to buy at such a great rate. Right now, the program is offering 3% down, right? 3% down is pretty normal for a lot of people. But when you have an I-10 number, you're usually looking at 10 to 20% down. And so this program, we don't know how long it's going to be out. I only know of 2 different lenders that are offering it, and it's very selective. And so with the people that are getting that chance to buy at 3% down, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like,
That opens
fuck
up
the
a
interest rate,
whole.
we'll fix that later. Yeah.
Yeah, that opens up a whole different category of people that you can now service, who may have been like, I maybe have that money to put 10 to 20% down. That doesn't mean I want to. When I see other people who are only having to put 3 to 3.5% or whatever it is, that can be discouraging for those people. So that's awesome.
Did y'all hear about that new loan program that's 1% down and no PMI?
I did hear about that, so that's pretty cool as well. I haven't necessarily pushed it out to anyone just yet. I think I need to educate myself.
I think it's 580 plus credit score, 1% down, no PMI. And so even though it's 1% down, I guess the monthly payment will be a little bit higher. But since there's no PMI, it sort of equals itself out.
Well, so from what I saw, it's still a conventional 3% down loan. It's something where I think the lender covers the other 2%.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's still 3% down, and that's how you write it up on the offer. There's also some restrictions that go with that program, which is, it's great that it's there. I want to say it's $350,000 max match purchase. Oh my God, Jordan, words. Max purchase price. And you also cannot bring, whoever's applying or for that loan cannot bring in more than $88,000 per year.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah, so see, this I-10 program that I have right now, it's there's no max cap on the purchase price. So as long as it's in a specific zone that will qualify for it, you'll be fine. With that said, there's no income restrictions on it either. And then the debt to income ratio does have to be satisfactory, and you also have to have a specific amount of like lines of credit open. I say this because a lot of our Hispanic community doesn't pull credit. They don't have credit cards. They don't get stuff like that. So minimum 3 credit cards or 3 bills in your name that show like lines of credit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you this program, this I-10, is it I-10 program?
I-10, I-T-I-N.
IT, okay, because I'm thinking like I-10 the highway. so that program, is it very similar as far as like the availability for like what areas are available? Kind of similar to USDA?
Yes and no, because we actually I looked at a property with Pablo on 12th Street maybe 2 weeks ago, and that property qualified for
Oh, wow.
the 3% down. It depends. They have their own map. You have to submit the address to the lender to see if it'll qualify. I've only had one home that didn't qualify, and it was like Terra Vista and Round Rock. They were like, no, this area didn't qualify for the 3%, but just across in Vizcaya, it qualified. So
Interesting.
I don't know how they gear their map on it, but yeah, specific areas.
Hey, I did want to bring up this real quick. This info that came up, it was a meme and it said, or a video, and it said, self-made real estate millionaire Barbara Cochran from Shark Tank says it's a good time to buy because home prices are going to explode when mortgage rates drop.
100%. I'm a strong believer in that. I'm like, dude, screw the rate. Like, just get it now, and then once rates go down, then refinance. You know, if that's a year, 2, 3 years down the road. And that's one thing that like a few of my buyers are like, you know, maybe we will do it. And I'm like, no, the prices are going to go up. And they're like, oh, but they're starting to go down. Okay, but how much longer are they going to go down? And then when is it going to shoot?
I've noticed people feel really strongly about this. I just made a post about that yesterday, about that same exact thing that Barbara said. My thing is, if you are a buyer and you're holding out for rates to drop, what happened the last time? Like, I'm not like I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Every situation's different. However, all we have to go off of is history. And what does history say happens when interest rates drop like that? People become buyers again, right? People are getting qualified again.
Now you're all fighting for the same property.
Exactly. So we could, I'm just saying could, I'm not saying we're going to, but it is a strong possibility that we repeat a version or some form of 2020 to 2020, early 2022, where it's bidding wars, it's over asking price. So pick your battle. If you're going to wait on interest rates to drop, you're going to have less inventory to pick from, or you're going to be paying over. Right now, you have tons of inventory that we didn't have during that time to pick from.
On top of all the price decreases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of get to have your way a little bit. That's what we've been telling our buyers, and it's holding true. Is if, with a few exceptions, if a house is priced really competitively, yes, you're still gonna have to compete for it. But there's a lot of houses that are sitting for 60, 90, 120 days plus. And those houses, those sellers are probably getting a little antsy, and they want the property sold. So especially during summer, they probably got families that are trying to move. They got school districts they're trying to get into. New jobs. That's the time to really strike if you're a buyer. And I totally agree that right now is the best time, I think, over the next calendar year that you're going to have for buying a house.
I think I'm starting to, I don't know if it's me, my business, or the market, but I'm starting to see things pick up a little bit. And yesterday, I've got a listing going live on Thursday, and it's beautiful, absolute beautifully done backyard. And the thing is that we've got buyers already interested in the property before it even hits the market. So that tells me a few things. One, I think buyers right now are looking for unique properties.
They're looking for value. That's what it is. Like, no one wants that cookie cutter house right now. They can get that. They can get that anywhere. But you get a property that provides that really unique value, or it's just at a super killer price. Like, that's going to be what sells.
Let me ask you this: have you seen things pick up more on the resale side or new construction side?
New construction.
New construction.
Yeah. My last two clients that I went under with are new construction.
I mean, like, why not? Like, you get a new house, prices of the homes nearby are almost very similar, if not higher. It's like you get a new home.
I know.
Hey, I'll say this: if you have no experience with new builds, or maybe you've only had a few interactions, your clients can be easily swayed by these incentives that they're giving. And I'm going to tell you, these same two people, I'm having a hell of a time with these builders for some shady shit.
Really?
So, for example, I had them get an estimate from a lender who was not the builder, and then I had them get an offer from the builder's lender, their preferred one. You were going to get $20,000 it was 3%, and plus $5,000 worth of incentives if you went with the builder's lender. So in total is about $15,000 worth of incentives. Any normal person hears that and goes, well, that's a no-brainer. Like, obviously I'm going to go with that because that's going to be a lot better. When we compared the two, the fact that they were only at the bottom line was only $5,000 in savings for going with the builder's lender blew my mind. What that tells me is that extra $10,000 went to a bunch of fluff shit. It was them charging extra premiums for discount points, for like any fee that they could, they gouge you on. So just be careful. It's not always better to go with the builder's lender.
Definitely compare the two. That's one thing with like working with a local lender, and you can call someone and ask and confirm. And if you have a good lender, they'll tell you, hey, go with that builder's lender because they're offering you better rates. I've had my lender was like, hey, like, don't think I don't want to do business with you. It's just this program is much better for me.
Exactly. And our preferred partner, Grace and Aaron over at the home loan expert, they were fabulous with us. They knew they probably weren't going to get this contract because they couldn't compete with the $15,000 worth of incentives, but they were so willing to compare it and say, here's what we can do. If something falls through with the builder lender, like, we're here for you. So getting someone who will do that work with you to show that you are or are not getting a good deal with or without them is huge.
Oh, for sure.
So most of your leads you get from videos, correct?
Yes.
So is there any lead gen that you prefer not to do?
I don't like to door knock or cold call. I'm not a fan of that. I'll stay away from that. I'd rather just
Have you ever tried it?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes, I tried
How'd
it
it go?
out in a community off of Lamar, where I was trying to get a wholesale deal pretty much, and it's a big Hispanic community out there, and they were just like, "Sácate la chingada," like, bro, get out of my face. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna get shot out here. Like, yeah, just not gonna do that.
Yeah, that's funny.
I feel like if you're someone who can accept rejection a lot, then sure, door knocking can be for you. It's not for me.
It's hot. And you see, I like to wear boots and jeans, and you're not gonna catch me door knocking. I mean,
that's another thing.
This property tour that I just went on, if I would have known there were new construction homes, I would probably been like, yeah, pause, because it was ridiculously hot outside, and it's a beautiful day.
I don't know if I've shared this story, but I've only door knocked once, and it was the first house that I actually door knocked. They were like, yeah, come on in, we're thinking about selling our house. But what ended up happening is that they ended up hiring someone else to sell their house. And then a year and a half later, they call me, or they find me on Facebook and say, John, we should have used you to sell our house. Our best friend is selling their house. Can you sell them a house? And so I ended up selling them a house. But it was the first door I ever door knocked, and I was super confident that day. And so I just started door knocking every.
That first one, you were like, this is fantastic. This is the best lead gen ever.
I know, right?
Well, I did knock at one door once, and I was actually with my partner. He was joining me. He was like, yeah, I'll just walk around with you. We did a neighborhood that I used to live next to. And someone answered the door, and they're like, oh, we're tenants, but the landlord just died like 2 days ago. And so the daughter reached out, and so I know that they're probably going to want to kick us out pretty soon because we're on a month-to-month lease. Call her, and if you can sell it to an investor that'll rent it back to me, let me know. And then I did call the landlord's daughter, and she was like, man, we just had someone call us like 2 days ago, like when he died. So
jeez,
bummer on that.
Somebody's just like,
that was the second door I knocked on.
Yeah.
That happened, and my partner was like, you should do this more, and I was like, no.
well, no matter what you do it consistently. Even if it's door knocking, if you do it or at least on Sunday night, make a plan on how you're going to door knock, what neighborhoods you're going to door knock, what value you're going to add to those conversations when you door knock. It's going to work out. It's not going to be instant, and probably it may be even faster than 6 months to get your first deal. Or even if it's cold calling, same thing. Sunday night, make a plan. Who you're going to call, when are you going to call them? As long as you sit down, make a plan beforehand, and be consistent, your lead generation is going to be profitable.
Yeah. Well, I guess I also lied when I said I would never door knock again, because if I do have a listing, or I'm doing an open house on a fresh new listing, I will go knock on the neighbors' doors. I'll even leave a little flyer like, hey, this home's for the next year. I'm selling your neighbor's house. Like, call me. If you want to sell yours, do you want a market analysis? I'll do that, but I won't just freely I'm going to go start knocking on this.
I was just about to say, the only door knocking that I'll willingly do is if I'm going to an open house and this is kind of a tip to maximize your open house results for those of you listening, is you can go around and door knock to the immediate, I don't know, pick a number you're comfortable with, 10, 20, 30, whatever. If you're in Texas, it ain't going to be 30. It's hot as hell out here. But, go door knock with something of value with these people. It disarms people when you say, hey, I'm not here to sell you anything. So before you shove your door in my face, just hear me out. Like, my name's Jordan. I'm with Typke Real Estate. I'm actually hosting an open house for your neighbor over here. Boom. What you just did there is you disarmed them by saying, I'm not selling you anything, and I'm using your neighbor as an excuse for us to have something in common.
And they trust me, so you should trust me.
Yeah, and it's, hey, I've got some information about the open house. Another little pro tip is you can do a neighborhood or a neighbor hour only before the open house. So if your open house is 1 to 3, you could do a neighbor only hour from noon to 1, where you're sitting there getting their information and talking about their house. So that's one way to maximize that. But anyway, that's just kind of in my head, that's what I would do if I'm someone who's going to maximize my open house potential.
Man, I didn't drink coffee before this. I need some coffee.
You down? You down right now?
I need some coffee.
I know. I didn't eat either, so and then I didn't get to do one of my workouts this morning. I'm going right after this. Relax. I'm gonna get
we're
it done.
doing that 75 hard.
Yeah, we're doing 75 hard again. But I
gotta get this jawline back, man.
I know. Where'd it go? I'm just kidding.
Relax. I know. I'm just gonna go like this the rest of the podcast. Interesting lawsuit going on right now, and I want to pick your brains about it. Don't know if y'all know what's going on. I'll kind of summarize. I don't have all the details, what state it's in, this or that. The gist of it is that a seller is very pissed off that they're having to pay a commission to a buyer's agent to basically negotiate against them. And I want to say it's all the way to the Supreme Court right now. Like, it's getting up there. And what their argument is...
It's actually a class action lawsuit.
Oh, is it really?
So there's several sellers.
Does this have to do with I heard something about them wanting to change the commission structures because some agents were like, my services are free. And it's like, they're not free. Someone's paying for them.
I think it goes beyond that. It's if I'm a seller, why do I have to pay the person on the other side who's gypping me down on my sale? Which I can understand from that point. But here's the thing. If they get their way, let's say that your buyers are now having to pay your commission. What does that do to the buyers who are doing 3% down, 3.5% down, who don't have 20%, who don't have that expendable money? You are now eliminating a base who is going to have to pay that or go unrepresented and give up their protection to even compete, which I think is insane.
I don't think lenders are going to want to loan commissions money either. Yeah. I don't think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some lenders go to the edge of things. So, imagine having to add an additional 3% for your commission.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think it's going to be more detrimental than positive. So I understand the premise of why they are thinking that, but at the same time, is this really the battle that you want to pick? Because you're going to eliminate a certain amount of the base who is interested in your property. B, it's going to open up buyers who go unrepresented because they can't pay the 3% or whatever fee you charge. You're opening them up to be taken advantage of. And then what kind of lawsuits can come from that? It's a slippery slope in my opinion.
I think real estate's pretty awesome because there's so many creative people in the real estate industry that will probably figure out a workaround with it,
I'm just gonna call it something else.
Yeah, I know.
Well, here's the thing: is if you're really that concerned about it, don't pay a buyer's fee and see what results you get.
Sell it on your own.
That's my opinion. Is if you're not willing to give up some of your equity that you've built into the house for doing nothing other than occupying it and owning it, then you don't deserve to have someone who's motivated to make a deal happen and will help facilitate a deal to close. I don't know. That's my opinion.
It's like those people that don't want to pay even any commission at all. It's like, I want to sell my house, but I don't want to pay anybody to do anything. Okay, FSBO. And then they either sit there on the market forever or they don't get what's truly worth out of the property. Because
if you don't know, FSBO is for sale by owner.
And also, just the amount of money that we can potentially save these buyers, it's worth, or potentially save these sellers, it's worth paying that amount because for example, like the disclosures that we use, or it's mostly disclosures that are.
It's the protection aspect.
It's the
for me.
protection. Yeah,
It's
an extra insurance and policy.
Yeah, and plus, you want realtors to bring qualified buyers. You have to incentivize your realtors to bring someone who is actually going to get the deal closed. So if you take that away and there's nothing in it for me, or if I'm having to go and convince my buyers now, hey, like you got to pay for my services, then that's going to change the whole dynamic of what that transaction looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, little example, nothing compared to a sale. I had a lease once that, reached out to the listing agent, told them my client's criteria. They're like, yeah, we'll work with it. Clients apply. Then the listing agent was like, oh, you know what? We'll take the application, but we're not going to pay your commission. But could you give them the key the day of moving? I was like, no, why would I give them the key the day of moving? You're not paying me. You cut me out of the transaction.
They cut you out of the transaction?
They cut me out of the transaction. It's $800, but that's $800. I was like, that's...
No, I'd be mad.
Yeah, no, I was mad.
What the heck?
That's a slap.
Was it on the MLS?
It was on the MLS, marketed 40% commission, everything. And I have screenshots of everything. I was like, hey,
Did you?
you said you would take this undocumented person. We'd give you a double deposit. You said yes. My client applied. Now you want to cut me out.
Yeah, I
my
bet you
client
could.
obviously needed somewhere to live, so I was like, not going to tell him, no,
Yeah.
don't go there.
You could have taken that to their broker, did you?
Yeah.
And they still
I took it to
didn't
my
pay.
broker. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I would take it to small claims court. Honestly.
That's crazy. Snakes everywhere, baby.
know.
Snakes everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, you
there's
did
one-
exactly
there's
what you're
one-
supposed to do.
Yeah, I did everything I did. I had the screenshots. I was like, yo, like I showed them the house. They liked the house. I showed them the house. It was not the best house on the block either.
Yeah.
They literally were like, we're gonna have to get this professionally cleaned before we move in. I'm like, yeah, you probably are. And I'll probably take that fridge out.
Wow. And you serviced like all the communications and everything?
Oh yeah, all the way. I mean, my clients only spoke Spanish, and his clients, I guess, were Asian, so they didn't speak English either. So.
Wow.
That's wild.
I would have been so pissed.
So we're in the last about 10-15 minutes that we have left, and I want to go over what some of the valuable lessons that you've learned in your 2 years of real estate. Like if you could go back and teach yourself something from day one, what would that be?
The biggest one, which is super funny, but remind your clients to set up their utilities because
This sounds like you've been there before.
Yeah, I did. It was one of my friends. He bought a house out in Taylor, and he called me over the weekend and was like, "Hey, I don't know what's wrong, but there's no power in my house." And I was like, "Man, I don't know what's wrong." And he was just like, "I don't think I set up the utilities." I was like, yeah, you know what? You should probably do that. And that was just all on my end. I literally dropped the ball. I'm like, I
don't know though, is it?
I don't know. For me, yeah. I mean, I tell all my lease clients, I'm like, hey, set up all your utilities. I don't know why I didn't tell him as a buyer.
Yeah.
So
If anything, I don't necessarily think that that's on you.
I don't think that's on you.
I think it's more of something that you can implement to make yourself look better, like to make yourself the expert. Where
it was a first time home buyer. I mean,
Right.
he's obviously never done it before. That was my first new construction
Gotcha.
deal. So I mean, I tell everybody, even though it's kind of like common sense, but I still say it. You never know.
Yeah. And we ask our guests a lot of this is, have you thought about what your exit strategy to real estate is? You know, some people, I know you mentioned you want to own apartments.
Yeah.
Is that like the big goal is like, I want to use real estate as the tool to get the capital to buy the apartments and then coast?
I think that's a better way to word it is, what's your big goal? You know, I like that.
That's definitely my big goal. I want to own enough doors to where I can live without having to necessarily put in as much work. I can hire a property manager, take over all my stuff, just send me my check every month. I'll be on a beach or somewhere in the snow. That's my main goal out of everything. I really would love to like become the landlord.
Yes. That's awesome. Little real estate tycoon.
Yeah. And then, I mean, of course, I would love to, once that happens, then I'd like to get into like the bar industry. I'd like to open some bars, some restaurants.
Okay.
kind of venture out into something
Venture out
else.
into something else. I definitely have, like I said, I have that entrepreneurial mindset. I have so many business ideas. I think like 2 weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to start a trash can cleaning business because I was out there scrubbing my smelly trash can. And I'm like, I could pay someone to do this, or I could go charge them because people stop me on the street. They're like, "Hey, how much do you charge?" I was like, "I don't charge."
There's a kid, 2 kids in my neighborhood. It's so funny you brought that up. They are young entrepreneurs and they're like in high school or something. I think they're like sophomores in high school, and they just started cleaning people's trash cans for $20 a pop, and people love it.
Oh yeah, my trash cans stink. I literally was like, dang, that's foul. I'm gonna have to clean it because it just sits in my backyard and I can smell it. First I thought it was my dog's. But I mean, even at a young age, like I did car washing, lawn mowing. Like I did everything to try and make money so that I wouldn't have to ask my parents for money.
Yeah.
I went around. I sold candy bars.
Oh, that's
I would go to like Costco or Sam's or something, and I would buy a 60-piece thing of candy for, I don't know, they were probably like 30 something cents a piece, and I'd go around and I would door knock and sell it for $1 or $2 a piece, and I felt like the biggest G at that time.
Yeah, I definitely did that as well, but I think I did it for school.
I mowed lawns, and I remember one time I took this chick out on a date, and she ordered all the expensive food and then ditched me.
Oh man,
Dude, was that prom?
Yes.
Was that the prom that we were at? My ex-girlfriend, by the way.
I took his ex-girlfriend to prom. I don't know why.
I was like, she's your problem now, buddy.
I know. Yeah, she was for sure.
That was great.
that's funny.
Hope she doesn't see this.
She won't. She won't. That's funny. Any other lessons that you want to share? Like I said, there's a lot of first time people who, you know, they listen to this and they're just looking for any kind of tidbits that there's a lot of things that are recurring themes, and I think that's good too. Like don't hesitate if it's something that we've already said or that you've heard in past podcasts. Like I think it's all important because I think it reinforces, you know, I think every single person who has sat in this chair that we've interviewed who's a top producer has said 90+% of their time is lead generation. And people who are listening like, Jordan, we've heard that over and over. Then why the fuck aren't you doing it? Lead generate. 90% of your time, lead generate. That's, and I know that there's people listening that are like, I am doing it, Jordan, stop yelling at me. but like, what lesson do you have that you can share?
I've already said it. Answer the phone. Another one is be yourself. Because if you are painting a fake picture, you're going to attract those type of people, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a transaction. It's going to be like the headache from hell, and it's like, you know, I could have just been up front, or I don't know. For example, like I'm obviously part of the LGBTQ community, and I've met clients that are like, the second I say, and I always say partner anytime I'm with a client, I'm like, oh, me and my partner, and one time I think I said boyfriend, and the lady was like, oh, Jesus hates you. And blah, blah,
No
blah.
way.
And I literally was just like, I think we should stop this right here.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I think we should stop this right here. Very conservative woman for sure.
What gave it away? The Trump 2020 flag out on the front?
Yeah, pretty much. But no, like, it literally was just like, I was like, wow, I literally like don't want to work with you right now. And she's like, I don't want to work with you. I'm like, let's.
Was this
part
in
ways.
person or text?
This was in person.
That's
No
crazy.
It was at a showing, and it was like a $600,000 home that we were looking at. We had only communicated over the phone and via text message for a while, and then when I set up the first appointment, we were talking about the pool or something, and that came out, and she was just like, "You're gay?" I'm like, "Yeah." So
That
that's the thing.
sucks,
Be
dude.
yourself. Again, don't paint a fake picture. Work with people that have alike minds, and everything will be smooth.
Not the same thing, but I used to be very self-conscious about my tattoos, but then I realized, like, if they don't want to work with me because of my tattoos, I don't want to work with them, right?
I have a question. So you're our first that I know of LGBTQIA plus community member that we've interviewed. Do you find that community has any unique obstacles when it comes to home ownership? Sorry, not plural.
I do. I feel like you know, if you don't service that community is going to be a big part in our future. I think I read this study, but I hate lying. So something about a study saying that like 5 out of 10 people now are part of that community, and so in the future, like, these are going to be your home buyers.
50%?
Just about. Yeah.
Jeez.
I probably came out of California, but I mean, just thinking about that, like, these people are going to be our future. We are all part of it, and so if you can't work with that specific crowd or specific community, it's like working with like the race. Like, if you can't work with a specific race, why are you in the business of helping?
Well,
people?
you don't want to eliminate, like,
you
first of all,
anything.
it shouldn't matter. Like, just first and foremost, it shouldn't matter anything about your client. It's, are they qualified? Do they have the will to purchase a home? Can I help them? Those are like the 3 qualifiers. That's it. So if you're already, you know, doing like, I'm not going to work with this community or this race or whatever, you're eliminating your potential base. And in a game of real estate where there's an 87% failure rate within the first 5 years. You cannot afford to do that.
Yeah.
So get over it.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I did not know that was. I mean, it's not shocking. I guess
a shocker for me. Like I literally had never had any type of encounter like that with anyone before, and me and my partner travel all the time.
Was she from here?
No, I don't know where she was from, but she was not from here. She said she was, I think, somewhere from like North Texas.
Russia.
Okay, yeah.
She was from Russia.
But I mean, like I said, me and my partner, we travel all the time, and it's like, maybe we shouldn't hold hands here. We shouldn't do that here. And so I've never had that issue here in Austin, or even like Round Rock, where I'm from. Anywhere in this area, I've never had that issue. But when it did happen, I remember going home to my partner and being like, "This was a very weird thing that happened." And he was like,
I think it takes a certain amount of awareness to separate your personal beliefs and then still be able to do transactions or relationships. Like you should separate that. And the thing is, I don't know. That's a whole different. For example, actually, never mind. Go ahead.
What are you gonna say?
I've got a family member that is very opinionated about certain things, and they're like, this person is a little crazy. How are you going to work with X, Y, and Z or whatever? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like it's those are your opinions. And like the thing is like I'm not here to put judgment on other people.
You're also not being paid to pass an opinion.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a totally different subject, come on now. Yeah.
And I think we're so lucky here at the Real Estate Virgins podcast that we've gotten to interview a Black successful realtor, an LGBTQIA successful realtor, Mexican realtor, Asian realtor. Like we've gotten to experience, or to, single mom. Like we've gotten to interview these really diverse backgrounds and upbringings and just spots in life. And I think it's important for people to see, like, you can be successful, and that you can take comfort in knowing that a majority of people don't give a crap about anything that you can do other than what you can do for them.
Yeah.
That's it.
The knowledge and the value that you bring to the relationship, for sure.
Boom. That was a banger. We're going to end this podcast.
I want to do that. Okay. So from now on, I think if you do intro, I'll do the fire questions.
Sure.
Let's
do it. That's
okay.
fine.
All right. So we're going to end the show with a handful of rapid fire questions.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. So you ready?
Sure.
3. So you got first thing that comes to mind, right? All right. So you prefer to work with buyers or sellers?
Buyers.
Coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee.
Listings should be empty or staged?
Staged.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Your real estate superpower is?
Negotiating.
Oh, I think everybody's going to say that. As someone who likes cruises, your favorite destination is?
Ooh, Jamaica.
Ooh, that's a good one. Me too. Favorite way to celebrate a closing?
Drinks.
Okay. All
bing,
right.
bing, 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 bing.
Nice.
I think you can tell I'm an alcoholic. I love to drink.
Anthony actually has an AA meeting right after this.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Well, guys, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that this episode was valuable for you. There was a lot of really key parts that you can go back and listen to. The last 3 episodes, including this one, have just been straight fire. Like if you do nothing else, go listen to those 3, and you're going to be set up for success and hear from some of the best in the business. Anthony, one more time, where can people find you at online?
Instagram at your ATX Realtor, or Facebook at Anthony Sanchez.
Nice.
John Michael, where can people find you?
At John Michael Perez, always posting real estate advice.
Boom. And guys, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Everything is at Jordan Sells ATX. If you found anything of value today, we love feedback, and we'd love it if you leave us a review, subscribe to the channels, give us a rating, 5 stars if you're feeling generous. And we just can't thank you guys enough. You're helping grow this podcast, and this is why we keep doing it, because people keep coming back and they're finding value out of it. Amber, Nick, like there's people I've been talking to online who are just soaking all this stuff up.
Chase.
Yeah, I mean,
tons of people. We were at a party the other day, and somebody was like, "Man, I'm loving your podcast. This is the first time I'm meeting you in person." And I'm like, "What the heck? I didn't even know y'all were listening." Oh yeah,
Dude, I literally I love this freaking podcast. I'm like, I'm still, like I said, I learn stuff every day.
That's awesome.
So I got a lot of value out of it. So thank you guys for having me. I
Appreciate
really
that, man.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Guys, go be great in your local market. You know that we're here if you want to discuss anything, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.